this. So yeah, here it is. Here's the first setup that we'll have. So this I have a bunch of notes on Big Sky. You can view it there. May PDF done. So essentially, we have a first setup or a first scenario, which is the artificial light source. So when I mean artificial, I mean any man-made light source. So it can be a light bulb, a torch, uh, spotlight, anything. So what we do here for an artificial light source is we identify first yung light source, yung height niya. Okay, so ito siya, right? And then what we do is we bring it down to the ground. Okay, so that means we know the position of this light source relative to these sticks. Ibig sabihin, if I put it down here, ibig sabihin my light source is in front of this stick right here. But since it is here on this position, it's right beside the stick. Okay? So for this exercise of as I'm doing this, guys, sabayan nyo ako para magets yung concept and you can get the hang of it kasi again, as you can see, there are a lot of lines that's happening here. Okay, let me tone down the opacity here. Okay, now, so you have first identify, well, the light source. And then you position the light source by placing it on the ground. So you know kung nasa harapan mo siya ng object, is it on the side, is it on the front? Okay? Now, for example, here we have a stick. So the stick here is gonna be, well, the basic concept or the basic thing that you need to understand for cast shadows. Anything for complex objects, there's still sticks. Kumbaga, we are just casting yung edges nung object. Let's say right here, 'di ba? So, this object here, stick, 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 stick for each corner. You can think of them as sticks. So that's the reason why we are casting sticks for now. Okay? So, moving forward, we can go two ways. We can first cast or we can first project the light beam, okay, coming from the middle. You project it on the top portion, okay? Right on top of that stick. So I will mark it down as red para makita niyo intersection. Alright? So that determines, well, yung angle ng light na tama sa kanya. And then what we do next is we, from this position, sa baba, we just simply cast the shadow there. And in order to determine the length of the shadow, well, we just look at the end here, this intersection here. And then we fill this with black, and then there, that's your shadow. Okay, so the artificial light source setup is very simple. So you can use uh this plotting of shadows. Let's say if you have a room, 'di ba? Sakto 'yan. Kasi unlike so later you'll see the difference between um this artificial light source and your natural light source. I'll show it in a while. Okay, let's do another one. So let's say here, the stick. So once again, guys, color code your lines para hindi ka nalilito. So this time around, I'm starting with the shadow. So you can go either way. There's no strict steps that you should follow. Okay, then like that. Okay, very easy. Ayan na. That's your shadow for the stick. Okay, gets it ba? You understand, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, now let's move on to sunlight. Okay, so just so you can see the difference. Sunlight, or do we move on to the cube? Huh, I'm thinking. Hmm. Well, let's start here first. Ito muna ang cube. Okay, so as I was saying a while ago, right? This object right here, it, you can think of the corners as sticks. So those are the things that we'll be casting. Don't think of us casting this cube. Yung sticks lang muna para hindi kayo intimidate. So this is what I did sa for this diagram. Okay, these are 4 sticks, and I'll do it again right on top of this para makita niyo yung ano, yung process once again. So here's a light source. Light source, okay? So we're gonna use these corners right here. This one, we're not gonna use this close corner because if we cast a shadow, let's say ito yung shadow niya, right? It's gonna be inside the cube. Or it's gonna be right here, inside the shadow. So it's not gonna be seen. So it's not needed. So three, 3, 6 are just what we need. Okay, now stick number 1. We have this one right here. So we will cast this shadow right here. There. Stick number 2. Stick number 3. Wait. Oh. Huh. Okay, so there was something wrong in my demo, in my diagram. So ito talaga yung proper position niya. Okay, I'm gonna use a dark blue for the shadow direction. That's that, and like that. Okay, now to avoid confusion, what you do is you mark down your intersections. So let's say this one. Susundan nyo. So from this top corner, pumunta siya dito. Babalik siya dito sa baba. So just mark it down. I-mark nyo na para tapos na. You can move on. So this one, corner, corner, intersection. Mark it down. Same thing here. We have corner, corner, and then intersection is right here. So like that. Okay. Now we have now 3 sticks. Three, 3 cast shadows for the stick. Okay. And we're gonna mark it down, mark it down, mark it down, mark it down here. Now these ends of the sticks, we're just gonna combine them together. So link, link. Okay. And then what we do next is just fill out the shape. Let's use a different layer. Let's just fill out the shape like so. Okay, and then what we do, you see this, guys? You see the start of the shadow, the closest to us. So the start of the shadow, the cast shadow, is also where the shadow would start for the object. So this is what we call a cast shadow. Okay, so cast shadows are shadows that are cast on the ground behind the object that's being lit by a particular light source. On the other hand, we have what we call a form shadow. So form shadow is a shadow that's inside the object that shows the form of the object that's being lit. So let's say my hand right here. So if it's being lit by a light source, magkakaroon ako ng shadow dito sa baba or maybe on top, depending on the position of the light source. And usually that shadow could either be soft, hard, firm, depending on the surface. So a round object would have a softer shadow, form shadow, compared to a let's say this one, a hard surface or angular surface. Okay, so pay attention to that. But first things first, before you do those things, yung edges, yung texture ng shadow, you have to first identify where the shadow is. Kasi no matter how polished yung sir, ang ganda ng blending ng sphere ko. Bakit hindi siya mukhang tama? It's because the position of the shadow is incorrect. So you have to worry first about the foundation. Make sure that you got it right. So ito, here's the form shadow. Okay, so form shadow also is a shadow that's, well, turning away. No, it's on a plane that's facing away from the light source. So tingnan nyo, this area here, itong plane na to, is facing the light source. This one's on top of the light source. So this one's gonna be very, very light, slightly light, but this one very dark because it's turning away from the light source. So when it comes to lighting, guys, you have to think of angles. You have to think of the position of the object relative to the light source. In particular plane ng object. So this plane, do you think is it going to be in shadow? This plane, do you think it's going to be in light, halftone? Okay, it's all about positioning. Another concept or another diagram to illustrate that point. So let's say ito yung light source, right? So we have this plane right here, a plane here, and then a plane here. Okay, so ito side view to. This is a side view of an object. Okay, tingnan nyo ah. So I'm gonna cast, or I'm gonna plot a bunch of lines that will signify the the light that's hitting the object. Teka. Let me adjust this. Teka. Let's make it top like this. So I have an object here that's underneath the light source, directly underneath the light source. Okay, so oops. So I have another set of light here, then another one here, which we'll extend. Okay, so guys, do you understand this diagram here? Nakita nyo ba? Now, these are light beams, okay? Hitting our objects. Ito, it's right on top of the object. Ito slightly on top, slightly angular. But as you can see here, here's our light source, and here's our object. So the light beam and the surface of the object, the plane, forms a 90-degree angle. Okay, that means if that angle is appearing, that particular plane will receive the most amount of light. Okay, that's going to be the brightest spot among your surface. Now, we have here another plane, diba? This one's below 90. So it's still gonna be in light because of the angle. Tingnan nyo, tumatama pa din yung light source. The light source is still hitting this angular plane, although it's not a direct hit. So it's still gonna be light, but it's not gonna be as light as this surface that's perpendicular to the light source. On the other hand, you see this plane here, the plane that's parallel to the light beam. So no matter what happens, nothing's gonna hit this light beam here, or this plane here. So it won't be affected by the light. So it's gonna be in shadow. Although it's not gonna be black because remember, diba? This object here is not existing on the vacuum. It's not just a light and an object. We have a wall, diba? We have an atmosphere. We have the sky. So there's gonna be ambient lighting hitting this object. So although it's gonna be in shadow, it's not gonna be pitch black. Okay? It's still gonna be dark gray, ganun. It still has light in it, pero it's gonna be in shadow na. Kasi it's not really part of the main light source. On the extreme end, you have, let's say, ganito yung plane. Okay, so this part right here is not going to be hit by the light source, and it's not going to be hit too much by the ambient lighting. So, ang tatama dyan is, well, the ground. So, you're going to have a bit of bounce light there. Although, these two light sources that we have, the ambient light, the bounce light, they're not going to be as strong as the main light source because that's what we want. Okay, we want to have a definite separation between light and shadow for artistic reasons, and well, it's mainly artistic reasons. Okay, so although I'm gonna teach you this next week face to face, I'll just show you the importance of knowing your angle of light. So as I said, right, the top plane would be the brightest. It's not gonna be a dramatic change in value. Okay, konti lang yan. Yan lang yan. There's a subtle distinction between the top plane and this angular plane. So the top would be the brightest, and then here at the start of the perpendicular angle, ito, that's where my shadows start. Same thing here. Where the cast shadow starts is where my form shadow would start. So here, this is also where the cast shadow would start. So magkakaroon ako ng cast shadow na pa ganyan. Okay, so that's the start of the shadow. Correct? So I said a while ago, it's not gonna be pitch black. So iangat ko ng konti yung value. Like that. And then at the bottom, there's gonna be a bit of, at least, malakas yan. So there's gonna be a subtle bounce light at the bottom. Okay, so light, light beam, light beam. This one's gonna be in shadow. Okay, then we have a bounce light. Okay, sir, it's a sphere, sir. Bakit ganun, sir? Iba naman tong diagram mo dito. Well, for a sphere, that same concept of angles still applies. Kasi ayan, ayan, oops, hey, what's happening? Like that, like that, like that. So you can still think of the sphere as angular surfaces. So each angle would have a different amount of light hitting that object. Okay? So just this is just a short introduction for that concept. Para lang nagigets yung angle sa sinasabi ko. And to provide further context for this, what do you call this? For this cast shadow lecture. Any questions so far? Okay, no questions?
Alex.
Yes, yes. Is that Juliana?
I
Hello?
think yeah, that's me.
Yes.
This is just me. I can't see the presentation at all. I think that's just the me problem.
But does any is everybody seeing the stream aside from Juliana? Okay. Juliana, you can try reconnecting. Can you restart your Steam. Discord?
I did been going on and off. I think maybe my Wi-Fi is gonna die soon.
Hmm. Okay. For the meantime, um, you try to restart your workstation, and then don't worry. It's currently recording, so you'll have a chance to see it again. Okay. So subukan mo muna. So maybe you're right. Maybe internet connection, but hopefully it's simply a Discord error. Okay, Juliana. Um,
Okay.
any questions, guys? Okay, wala. Okay, moving on, moving on. Okay, so this one's the last. Well, here's another concept for us before we take a short break, and I ask you to do these things as exercises. So here was the first setup: artificial lighting. Here's the second one. It's a natural light source. So what do I mean by an artificial a natural light source? What I mean by this is it's gonna be the sun, the moon, a meteor, I don't know, anything that's made by nature. Yan yung light source. And it has to be outside the Earth's atmosphere. Okay? So here's sunlight number 1. So the difference here is we can't place the sun on the ground. Okay, we can't place it here. Okay, we have to place it on the horizon line. That's the difference. Why? Well, because if we place it here on the ground, that means we are placing a definite distance between the sun and the ground, which is not true because here's the earth, okay? Here's the sun. Here we are. We are just a small speck, a significant speck in the vastness of the universe. So we can't place it on the ground because it's so far away, light years away. I don't know the exact number, but it's far away. So there's gonna be a bunch of light beams there. Okay, I'm gonna show, well, a bunch of light beams. Okay. Okay. So what's gonna happen here if we zoom in? Let's, oh crap. If we zoom in here after I projected these light beams. Okay, let's zoom in. Okay, as we zoom in, these lines appear to look, well, they start to look parallel. Okay, they're almost parallel because we can't really perceive the convergence of those light beams towards back to the sun because it's so far away. Although eventually it's gonna converge there. But on our eyes, they look parallel. Okay, that's the reason why we're placing it on the horizon line. Okay, now the difference here is those two things. So this setup or this method only applies to a sun that's facing us. Okay, there's another one that's again a natural light source. This one's different. This one, the sun is facing away from us. Oh, it's behind us actually. Okay, so this one's harder. So ito muna tayo. Okay, so for this part, well, you need the horizon line. Okay, the horizon line is there. Then you cast a stick or you place a stick here, and then the sun is right here. So based from this angle on the horizon line, it's not really noon, hapon na to. So as you can see, based from the length of the shadows, well, yun nga, maghahapon na to. The sun is setting. So what we do, cast the shadows, place it back to the horizon line. Okay, tandaan nyo ha, for a natural light source, the shadows would go back to the horizon line. And then now we cast the light for the stick right here. Okay, mark down the intersection right here and then cast your shadow. Okay, here's another one. Stick, shadow, light. Oops, that's not right. Bawasan na lang natin to. Yan, tumama na siya. And there. Okay, very simple. Okay, for the cube, the same idea goes. Okay, the difference here is once again you place the sun on the horizon line. Okay, questions? Questions, guys? You have questions so far?
Opo.
Alright, so last one before we take a short break. And I asked you guys to try it out para lang magets talaga. Okay, now for the setup, as I said before, the sun is behind us, behind the viewer. And we can't really place, having said that, diba, nasa likod siya, we can't really place the sun here kasi nga nasa likod. So, paano yun, sir? How do we cast, or how do we find the light beams? Now, this one, it's gonna be the reverse. Diba kanina, it's going back to the light source. Pag ganun. Ngayon naman, pag ganun. Pag ganito. That means, we're still gonna place the VP of the shadows. Ito pa rin yun. But the difference here is the sun now, yung VP ng light source, vanishing point of the light source will be now on the bottom part of the horizon line. But the same concept applies. The VP of the shadows and the VP of the sun should still be aligned vertically. Dito, they're still aligned vertically. Okay, so what's gonna happen here is, let's say, we have a stick. Okay, now you're gonna choose, diba? Kunwari, you can choose the angle of the light. Kumbaga dito sa ginawa kong diagram, ako na pumili ng angle of light. So let's say, diba, let's follow this diagram. Sir, gusto ko ganito yung angle niya. Okay? And that's okay. Yan yung angle ng light mo. But you should now position the direction of the shadow. Should it go this way? Should it go that way? But you can't make it go this way. Kasi if you make it go this way, that means the sun is gonna be beside the object. Nasa gilid na. Which is not what we're gonna use for this scenario. Kasi nga, as I said, the sunlight is behind us. It can't be beside us. Hindi pwede sa gilid. Dapat, yung direction ng shadow mo should only encompass these areas. It could be this way, this way, this way, but making it horizontally aligned to the horizon line, that's not gonna be possible for this lighting scenario. Okay, so let's say, sir, gusto ko ganito. Papunta dito. Oh, that's okay. Kung gusto mo dyan, go. So what we do is just project the shadow all the way back there. So ibig sabihin, all the shadows for this particular lighting will go here. Okay, so what you do now is from here, you place or draw a straight line downwards, and then you match the angle of this light source, extend it all the way down until you hit the intersection between the vertical line and the light beam. Okay, so that means this is gonna be the VP of sun, of your sunlight. Doon nyo siya malalaman. Kasi nga, we can't really place it initially. Back here, it's already indicated there. So, doon lang natin susundan. Okay, ilalagay nyo doon yung light source. Or yung light beams. Doon sa sun. But now, it's the reverse. We first identify the light beam, and then we find the sun using the intersection of the BP of the shadows going down below the horizon line, and this line here going straight or going this way, following its angle until we intersect it here. Okay? So having with that, ito na siya. Yan yung shadow. Okay? Kabila, ganito din. So, once again, if you're gonna cast the shadow of this stick, follow this VP right here. And then dito, since now we now have the VP of the sun, the light beams niya, we can just simply do the reverse. Pag ganyan. Pag ganyan na siya. Like this. Like this. Like that. And then like this. Okay? Now, do you have questions, guys? Do you have questions? Questions? Wala. Alright, so as I take a break, I will ask you guys to do this. Tingnan nyo ha. Artificial light source, you try three sticks, okay? And then you try sunlight. Saan yung isa? Saan isang sunlight? Oh, here it is. Okay, sticks lang muna. Wag nyo muna gawin yung cube ha. Sunlight number 1. Here is sunlight 2. Okay, so artificial light, 3 sticks. It's up to you where you want to place your lights. Sunlight number 1, and then sunlight number 2. Okay, just 3 sticks. But if you're feeling generous, or feeling you feel like you want to do more sticks, well, it's okay. Okay, basta itong tatlo muna. Practice this concept because this is the foundation of casting shadows for any other objects. Yes, 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 hindi nagsalita. There,
Uh, this is only this is only quicker because I just got back. The load came back now. Do we shade? Do we shade on it or
uh, it's not really shading per se. Ano
not
lang,
really shading?
just fill it out. Kunyari, di ba may plane na ganyan? Just, okay, I'm gonna use a pencil brush. Nasa ba yung pencil brush ko? Uh-huh. Right here. Oh, is this? No. Teka lang ha. Where is my pencil brush? Jesus. Ito na lang muna. So, gagawin nyo, you're just gonna fill it out. Ganito lang. That's it. And kunyari may shadow na ganyan. Just, once again, fill it out like that. Just a flat shape. That's it. Next week na yung ano. I'm gonna teach you next week yung mga render talaga. Okay? Any more questions before I go?
Question, sir.
Yes, Sean.
Can you show the uh sample sticks again so that
Ah,
I can screenshot
ah,
it?
guys, Sean, it's also in Big Sky. May PDF doon.
Yung okay, okay.
Okay, makikita niyo siya doon. Uh, any more questions, guys?
So this stick exerciser, but is it part of the plate, right?
No, 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 no. Exercise lang muna to. The plate is actually uploaded na in Big Sky. Ito,
Okay,
ano
okay.
lang to, warm up ko lang para hindi ka nalilito. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, in 20 minutes. Magbe-break lang ako. Okay guys, bye-bye.